How are you?
Morning. Good morning.
I'm interested. June 12th is the scheduled date between the meeting between the President Trump and Kim Jong-un of North Korea. As we've discussed before, this is just basically going to be a one-day, one-off. Hello, how are you? And they'll compare, I don't know, suit sizes or whatever else they're planning on doing. But at the same time, Kim Jong-un is upset because the United States, as it has done for I don't know how many years, is conducting some operations with South Korea right now. So what are you hearing today?
Well, the White House is certainly signaling that they expect that over the next couple of weeks there will be some twists and turns, and that they were fully expecting that North Korea was going to throw some curveballs, try and throw some weight around ahead of this potentially historic summit with President Trump. I mean, they don't want to be seen as just being dragged to the negotiating table. North Korea is going to say, we have demands too. Well, they're upset about this routine, pre-planned, already on the schedule, military exercise with South Korea. The North Korean state media called it a provocative military ruckus. The White House wasn't saying yesterday whether they really believe this, that North Korea is really upset about this, or if it's just a bit of bluster. The president was just bombarded with questions whether or not the summit was canceled, whether or not he believes Kim Jong-un's threats. He would only say, we'll see what happens. We'll see, time will tell. But I think it's notable that the White House is saying that they weren't caught off guard, maybe the details of it, but in general, they're fully expecting that North Korea is going to try and present itself as a player and not just, the sideshow to President Trump and his negotiating team.
As we've talked about before, Kim Jong-un wants nothing more than a picture of himself shaking hands with the President of the United States. And beyond that, I don't think he cares about anything. That's
and he certainly has made promises to get that meeting and get it on the schedule, get a location. And now, is he trying to throw some wrenches in the process? Perhaps, but there's no indication from the White House that any planning has been put on hold.
Now, there were some stories that North Korea had released a statement. They had some more significant objections to the Trump administration's view of the Singapore summit, apparently rotating around cable news appearances by U.S. officials. So I guess they get cable over in North Korea, or at least some people get it.
Well, they certainly heard what John Bolton was saying over the weekend on Sunday political talk shows. He talked about the Libya model. He says, we have very much in mind the Libya model from about 15 years ago when it comes to how to denuclearize North Korea, what an agreement would look like. Well, the Libya model was Libya gave up its rudimentary nuclear weapons program, and then Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi was overthrown and murdered on the streets. So North Korea is saying, wait a minute, we're not going along with anything that would potentially threaten the stability and security of our regime. Like, we want to stay in power, of course. They also just don't like John Bolton. They once called him human scum, and this week said, we do not hide our feelings of repugnance towards him. Quite a line from
our president has said a few things about people over the course of action, but I'm getting way ahead of myself here, but I'm just kind of curious if you're hearing any back chatter. Let's assume that the war is officially called an end. There's a truce between North and South Korea. Therefore, the DMZ really doesn't need to be there anymore. What are you going to do with all those thousands of American troops and all that infrastructure that we have invested there over the decades?
The White House says it's too soon to get into anything like that. They're just focused on this first initial sit-down.
Okay. Well, we'll wait and see what happens then, eh? All right, Karen, thank you so much for your time this morning. Good talking to you, as always.
Thank you.
Karen Travers.